I hope you all found that useful, interesting and informative. I'm actually going to kick the Q&A off myself, which gives you all a little breather for about 10 seconds to think of some really good questions. Because interestingly, earlier on this morning, 2 or 3 people said to me, as HR people, how do we get the most out of Glassdoor? So I'm going to ask David exactly that question as to how HR people can actually influence Glassdoor.
Okay, good question. Well, the first thing I always sit down when I'm talking to a client or even a prospective client is, most importantly for me, is have they taken control? Have they got administrative access to their Glassdoor profile? And what I simply mean by that is everyone in the room should have, if you're a HR person or recruitment, you should have access to Glassdoor. It's free, it doesn't cost anything. So my first piece of advice, please get that if nothing else. We simply just take your email address, you set up a password, and it gets you access into our employer center, which is the back end. And then there is, for me, really from a client's perspective, all the data, the analytics live. So number one, please get access to the Glassdoor. If you don't have it, I'm more than happy to share it with any of you. You can email me. The second piece is when you're on Glassdoor, I often say this to clients, it's the first time they might have seen it, they're there, oh my goodness, we've all these reviews, we've some great ones, we've some shocking ones, what do we do, how can we take control? So there's 4 steps that we always advise people to do, and the first thing in the employer center on the right hand side is a thing called get to open company. So you can do 4 key things, and the first one would be just update your company information. On the front page, what a job seeker sees is a company description. It's generally out of date because it was set up 4 or 5 years back. Please, all you do is copy and paste it from your website. That would be the first thing. The second one is you can add photos for free. Please do that. The third one, and probably the most important, is we give you the right to respond to all reviews for free. It doesn't cost anything. So, and I'm often asked, well, we're not going to touch reviews, this is happening on there. Well, why bury the head in the sand? And I mean, I know some companies, they have to go through legal, it's not as easy as that, but we have some excellent template responses and we share them with all our clients. They're real responses. We name checked Virgin earlier on, they do it incredibly well. Electrolux, there's some great businesses that respond to every review, good, bad, indifferent, and we'll share them with you. I mean, they're happy for us to share these real life responses, so please, at least look at these at least look at your reviews and maybe look to start responding. We can share some great templates with you. That would be number 3. And the fourth one is get reviews. I think it's incredibly important. I mean, I think you mentioned earlier, maybe Lynn, 4% of all your employees have left reviews. 4%, 96% haven't. Let's hear their side of the conversation. If anything, that's going to change the dial hugely. I mean, those 4% might be the bitter, angered people who've just gone on, had a rant. I mean, let's change all that. You've got the other 96% who are fantastic. So please, we have it's a pre-populated, templated email. It says, we'd love if you leave a response on Glassdoor. Be very careful. 1 or 2 clients say, oh, we've got 10,000 people, we'll send the email to 10,000 there. Please do not send it to 10,000 people. That goes against everything we stand for. Cherry pick some of your brand ambassadors, but it has to be a real life review. It has to be an honest review, and we ask them for a good point and a can do better. So we want honest feedback from people. So be careful who you pick, but I mean, I think that will get you more involved. So those 3, I mentioned 4 points, will certainly get you started with the conversation, and it begins to, instead of just being about employees, former employees, let's hear your voice. So they would be 4 quick tips that we can do immediately.
Thank you, David. Do we have some questions? Hi.
When it comes to responding to reviews, in your experience, is it usually the comms team or HR?
That's a great question, and that's it's a tricky one for us to answer because Glassdoor touches so many different parts of an organisation now. It's not just HR, it's not just comms. A lot of companies now have employer branding teams. They will have recruitment teams. They will have, so we've got CEOs who start responding. So I have to be a little bit careful how I answer it. It depends on the makeup of your business, but we tend to say, I mean, HR is a really good starting point because they will tend to have a good handle on different sides of the business. But if it's a specific review that says the finance team are in dire need of a shake-up, sit down with the CRD the finance director, or it really depends what you want to start responding to. But if we can get 1 or 2 key contacts, HR is always a great starting point. Communication, definitely, and employer branding, they are our go-to people now. If we have an employer branding expert or people person within the business, we want them to start engaging in the conversation. So that.
And just off the back of that, if you have reviews on there already and the 2 years you haven't been responding, would you suggest that you start responding to all the ones previously or just start from that?
Yeah, well, I always like using the analogy of the TripAdvisor. I mean, if I go onto TripAdvisor, I'm probably going to look at the most recent ones first. And they actually have, so they will have a higher weighting in terms of your score on Glassdoor out of 5. So my strong advice always is, when you go into the review section in the back end, which you can do for free, you click newest first, and it'll bring up maybe the last 10 reviews that you've got, because certain companies might get 1 a month, other companies might get 10 a day. So my strong advice always is, look at the probably most recent ones first, because they're the ones that are going to have the most eyeballs on them, and start responding to them. The ones 2-3 years back, listen, companies will have gone through huge change. They might be a completely different place to the ones they were there. If you want to start responding, that's fine, but the newest ones are the most relevant ones first.
Cool, thank you.
Yes, so I know you do the recruitment process, and we talk about the recruitment process. In Glassdoor, there is actually, the most important is not just for the employer brand within the business, but also how you treat the people that you have refused. And actually Glassdoor mentions that, so I always look not just at, I'm a consultant for startups, so I often actually show the founders that Glassdoor exists for theirs. They don't even know about it. They don't know what Glassdoor is. It's like they have no HR. And most of the time I say they actually spot what recruitment is wrong and how you behave towards them. So if you do not even answer anything, you don't send an email to a potential talents that you have turned down, actually it's mentioned on Glassdoor as well. So, and I think unconscious bias needs to be said, because actually having worked with lots of tech, and I would like your input, because actually at Sage, because tech talent, female is one of the diversity issues. And in Glassdoor, if you say the interviewer is being biased, it has a great impact. So what do you do in Sage now so as to ensure that your tech talent is more diverse?
Yeah, we're doing a lot on diversity and inclusion. I know a lot of companies say that, but we are, so we're, I'm actually going to set up an alumni to reach out to people who've been on maternity leave, to make sure that they're still encouraged to come back if they want to come back, and maybe train them on coding. So it's some initiatives will go out there, and women who have left, not been in business for 3 years, train them in coding, even if they weren't interested in coding. So that's what some of the initiatives we've got, and also reaching out to specific gender groups as well. Make sure we attend the conferences on these subjects, even if it's a sponsorship. So there's a lot going on in the business. We need to do a lot more though. Our new president for Northern Europe started last week, and we had our kick-offs because our new year started in October, financial year. And she said that, and I didn't know this statistic, and I need to definitely get her to confirm it, but she said in Sage UK, 46% of our employees are female. That's really, really impressive. So we're obviously doing quite well. I need to confirm that statistic though, because that surprised me how high it was. I think nationally we're in tech 13% for women, 13. So that we're quite proud of that. But so yeah, there's a lot we've done, but we do need to do a lot more.
Hi.
Oh yeah. Question for Nicola. I quite like your point about, well, you mentioned something about is cultural fit just a way to discriminate? I work for an engineering contractor, and so we're very much project based. We have projects all over the place. And yes, while we have this overall, this is culture with something, the project teams are all very different. And what I've experienced as a recruiter is for the company is when we're interviewing people on certain projects, the feedback I've got sometimes is the person's right in terms is great in terms of their experience and their qualifications. They meet all of that, but don't fit that team. Now they might fit into the overall culture of the company, but they don't fit the team. How would you go about challenging that?
I think, we have the same challenges in the creative industry that, so for instance, an account director, we've got lots of account directors, and then they would be put on a certain client, and you often get are they right for this particular client, are they right for that particular client, in order to engage well with them. I would encourage to push back on that, actually, because again, I think it's just an easy knee-jerk reaction just to say that, they don't quite fit, and when you don't have properly defined values and behaviours, it's too easy to say they're just not quite, and you're like, what does that mean? I need more information, I need more language around that. So to push and say, give me some more information around that, and encourage that, looking at the team as a whole, what bits are missing, and recruit for the bits that are missing rather than the bits that are the same. Otherwise you just end up with a load of mini-me's, and everyone's from the same school and the same background, and everyone knows so-and-so. I know Charlie, and I know, we have the same problem.
We all know Charlie.
We all know Charlie. We met him on the way in. We have problem. As a gender, we're pretty 50-50, but again, when you start going to more senior, women start dropping off, and in the creative departments, there's something called the 3%. And this is across the industry, 3% of women are creative directors. 3%. So it's a real problem for us, a real challenge, and it's something that I worked at BBH previously. It's something that we're all trying to do more of. So I think it's just about encouraging people just to push back a bit and encourage them and get them to describe, what do you mean by that? And tell me more language. I need more information than, oh, you know what I mean. They just don't fit. It's too easy. Hello, Graham.
Question for Nicola. So you've obviously moved from BBH to Havas in the last year.
Yeah.
How do you go about defining a culture in a senior management team when you're dealing with anything from baby boomers right the way through to now Generation Z? Because they all want different things, and they all might want a different culture and what it means to them. So how do you do that when you join a new business?
Yeah. Very good question, Graham. Day four, is it? Yeah.
Might not be a day 5.
Might be a day 5. I think in my presentation, Chris Hurst, who's our European CEO and our UK CEO, he's done a bit of a road trip on the creativity, the wins, and the noise and personality, and he's very much about action and behaviours, and he believes that senior management will lead that we will lead the behaviours, and then it will filter through. So I think it's very much about being very action orientated around it rather than being passive around it, not just having it. At BBH we used to have the values on the wall, but it's about living those values, and it's about people knowing that they're tangible, and not being able to necessarily list 6, but being able to say, what's it like to work here? It's great because we collaborate. I feel that we're really quick paced, like it's entrepreneurial. So as long as people can play that back to you, I don't think it really matters from a culture point of view what age they are. But I think from a recruitment point of view, I was at BBH for 12 years and there's people there for 20 years. We've got to face the fact now that people kind of do a tour of duty. The younger people, we're going to come, if we've got them for 2 years, we're doing well. It's a tour of duty, they'll go somewhere else, they might go and do their own startup. So I think we have to adapt our recruitment and our benefits and our rewards around that, but I don't think we should adapt our culture. I think the culture needs to be key and applicable to everyone, and if it doesn't feel right for those people, then arguably they're not in the right place, or we're not doing it right, to your point.
Cool. Any more questions? Hi.
You mentioned in the presentations about recruiting the right attitude and the right cultural fit. Have you got any hints and tips within the recruitment process to spot that rather than focusing on skills and experiences?
It's all about conversation and getting to know the person, and once the recruiters have to be really, really good people. And funnily enough, my husband also happens to work in the same industry. He's got his own business, and oh my God, his people skills are like unbelievable. He can talk to you in 5 minutes and know you like that, and I find that quite frightening. That's your ideal recruiter. Even better face to face. And when someone's really desperate for a job, well, they'll say and do anything. Yeah. At the end of the day, they'll be the ones that probably be the ones that will be unhappy. But it's about having great recruiters, making sure that your hiring managers really understand, that's a real skill, recruiting. And the hiring managers need to know that as well. That's all I'd say on that one. It's about the recruiter, and that you make sure they know the vision as well. and the sort of people we need. I mean, there's lots of tools you can get nowadays. I've seen quite a few. We nearly purchased one on cultural fit. But it's going back to your point about, do you want lots of mini-me's? But this one was actually quite good at finding its way around that, and they had some quite good research. So there's some tools that you can buy to help you with that as well, especially maybe for some of the more senior positions. So yeah, both really.
Do you have anything else on the floor? Okay, thanks.
So I come from a sort of learning and development background, and always a challenge for us is, what's the actual impact? How are you going to evaluate, your impact within the wider ecosystem of everything that's happening in the organisation in terms of the impact on, the bottom line when you've got your control group, let's say, for people who've actually been through an exercise or been through a program or whatever, but they're not necessarily very easy to tie those individuals' performance to the performance of a function or whatever. And I thought it was interesting, you all kind of had different statistics on, like some of the different statistics on different elements, and I was just kind of wondering quite how easy it is to pick out different metrics as appropriate, and particularly around these which metrics we should be looking at, because even the ones where you were kind of running through some, I kind of had in my head, well, what's the cause and effect of that? So, for example, with the Glassdoor ones, okay, the good reviews on Glassdoor are having a positive impact on share value, but as we've seen with fluctuations in the pound, algorithms are bringing in data from all kinds of things. So actually, is it Glassdoor that's driving impact on share values? If that's one of the things that people are using in algorithms now, I don't know. So it's just that kind of culture. What, if any, would you say are the particular things you want to focus on in terms of culture as kind of evaluation mechanisms and metrics?
For me, I mean, we do a survey, have started a survey every year. It's a global survey, and we make sure that the management team get the results of it and have actions around it. And I think through that would be a metric that you could look at. I think also through appraisals, so making sure that everyone has a performance review, and again through that, seeing how satisfied people are, seeing do the behaviours and the values come through the review. Are some of the metrics that you could use from a cultural perspective to ensure that the behaviours and the attitude that you are saying we are actually are happening in real life. And then I think also just through line managers, how often do they catch up with their people, and I guess through people coming, how long do they stay, how happy are they, would be some of the metrics.
Maybe also customer satisfaction surveys,
Yes.
yeses.
Yes.
If you're getting low scores there and you're finding it's all about your people and the way they're behaving.
Yeah, and I'll follow up. It's a great question because it's very difficult. I mean, there's so many different metrics, so many different statistics. There's one great thing we have on Glassdoor in the employer centre, which is it's part of the enhanced profile, so the paid for version, but it's a thing called competitor comparison. And it's where it actually shows employees or clients who basically all their reviews, what you are being rated on by your employees. So I always like to sit down with a client and say, well, listen, you're going to run your own employee engagement surveys in-house. Let's see how it stacks up to what people are saying anonymously on this website. So we get ratings on about 10 different topics, from cultures and values, senior leadership, CEO rating, work-life balance. There's about 10 key things, and it's amazing. We'll have the Glassdoor average, and then we'll have you as your business, how you stack up. And then more importantly, you can actually, as part of this profile, this enhanced profile, you can put in as many different competitors in your space as you want. So your Unilever, you want to see what's going on with GlaxoSmithKline, you can see how their people are being rated. It's incredibly insightful, so it'll kind of marry up nicely with some of the internal reports you run, but something like that is really powerful. It's generally not for free. Now, having said that, we have an insights report that we're able to offer people, so if you want, we can run it for you, we can give you a look at that, and I think that's really, really interesting to look at.
Thanks.
And do any of you have any tools that you use to screen culture fit before you get to an interview stage, like in the application process? So what are they? How do you do it?
We don't, but I can get you the information of a company that we are considering, and they are really good. So we can chat afterwards. I can't remember the name to be honest.
We're just setting up a placement scheme, and we've asked, as well as a CV, to have a video, so people to do video applications. And again, that's just a different way of presenting yourselves, and we're particularly targeting a more diverse group of people. And so So that's another way of really getting to because it's interesting how they approach that as well, and does what they're putting across, does that fit in? But generally, we don't know.
Have you found that works across levels? So because we use that for graduates, but we wouldn't then use that for anything else.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's probably more at that sort of level. Although I don't know, why not, right? It'd be quite interesting, wouldn't it? I mean, everyone is so social these days, aren't they? I mean, it's all about the projecting oneself, isn't it? And I guess, I mean, also, I mean, if you wanted to, I'm not saying we do, you could obviously look at their Google references, and so many people leave all their things open that you can just quite easily find things out about them.
We had somebody actually apply for a job in my team last year who applied with a poem.
Nice.
So we asked for CV and application letter, and the letter was a poem. It's still on my desk at work. There was no way they were going to get the job, unfortunately, because they didn't have any skills. But which was
exactly.
well, this one was way out, and they were living at the other side of the world, which is even more bizarre. But it just shows that people, as well, that your candidates are also realising that they have to do something different to
get noticed.
Yeah, and that makes a difference as well. Do we have anything else? Okay, well, I'm hoping we've brought a little bit of happiness to you all this morning. A big thank you to David, to Nicola and to Lynn for speaking.